So hey, this is Mike with Mountain Boys, and tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about the new Gen 4 Tacomas. So I just upgraded from my old 98 TRD Tacoma, and I got a brand new 2024 TRD Offroad Tacoma. And I got it with the double cab and the long bed. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the first mods you should think about making to your brand new Tacoma. So, seeing as how this is a brand new model year and everything, there aren't a ton of accessories out right now. There's some. I mean, you can probably get some of the basics covered, but really, it's probably best to wait a year or two until you start doing things like, lifts and stuff like that. So what I wanted to talk about tonight, and this will probably be the first in a series of videos here, are the first modifications that I've made to my new Tacoma. And I have just over 1,000 miles on it. I've had it just over a month now. And the very first thing I did was get a new set of tires put on it, because the 4-ply tires that came with from the factory were just kind of junk for being out here. And I went with a style tire that I've used on my old Tacoma and also on my work trucks. I went with the Hankook Dynapro AT2 Extreme. I think that's what these are called now. On the Tacoma, I always ran the Toyo Open Country AT2. And I've just had really, really good luck with that style of tire. It's not too aggressive. It can handle the snow and the mud and the dirt and, being in the hills. By and large, just fine. You can air them down a little bit if you need new traction, but honestly, I'm very, very rarely in a situation where I feel like I need to air down my tires. So, all that being said, that was the very first modification I've done to this truck. And probably even more importantly than the tread pattern or how low you can run your pressures on them, the most important thing to me was having that 10-ply rating. Just so when you're up here, you don't get a silly sidewall puncture just being out and about in the hills. So that was the number one modification I did, and I think that's an important one. And I will note too that I also replaced the spare, because the spares that the new Tacomas come with is a joke. It was a glorified donut. How they thought that could even pass for a truck spare, I have no idea. But I went ahead and got a set of 5 brand new tires and got rid of that spare that it came with as soon as I could. And that's a note too about getting rid of your old tires. So if you can find a dealer or a tire shop that will take your factory tires and trade, do that as soon as you can. Because if you put too many miles on them, on your factory tires, they might not give you anything in trade. So I was able to get, just $200 trade-in value for my old tires, or, the old brand new tires that I wasn't going to be using. And, that's just price off the sticker, or, money off the top of that sticker price right there. Because there was no way I was going to run with the tires that it came with. And I also feel like until I when or if I ever get a lift, I went with the LT 265/70 R17. So I didn't even really upsize yet. I figure I'll run these tires probably until I get a lift, if I'm going to do that. And then at that point, I might size up to like 33s or something like that. Or like a, what is that equivalent tire size? I'm really reaching in my brain right now. Like a 285/70 17. So regardless, yeah, the very first modification I did to this truck, and it's kind of a no-brainer, but it's tires. And I've always been really happy with, the Hankook or the Toyo AT tires. They do well enough in snow most of the time. They do okay in mud. They do decently in snow, like I said. And they're also good on the highway and good around town. And I think that's probably the other big consideration you're gonna have to make with your new Tacoma is how often are you really gonna be putting it through its paces out here? I mean, for me, I would say 80, maybe even 90% of the time. Unfortunately, my truck is gonna be on pavement because it's my everyday truck and it's my daily commuter. And I have to use it for everything from picking kids up and dropping them off at school to, to and from work to, yeah, getting up in the hills and hunting and everything like that. So just some thoughts on how you go about doing your modifications. I mean, I have a list. I mean, there are some things coming for this truck and coming pretty soon too. But number one thing, swap out those tires. Don't run those factory tires. Don't trust those 4-ply tires on. Basically, I would, hesitate to even trust them on very much gravel because one little nick and sidewall's done. And like I said, if you put too many miles on them, then you're just going to be out the trade-in value that you might have gotten on those tires. So, yeah, 10-ply, reasonably good tread. I mean, they're not a mud and snow tire. They're not an MS tire, nor are they a studded snow tire. But really, if things get that gnarly too, when it comes to tires, I was always used to just chaining up my old Tacoma and running a set of chains, either on the front or on the rear, or if it got really nasty, chaining up all four. This is something I'm gonna have to adapt to with the new truck. And, like its crawl control features and things like that, is I might be able to get away without chaining up. And if I do chain up, it's probably only gonna be on the rear because I really doubt there's enough clearance and enough room in there behind that front wheel to run a set of chains on the front now. I mean, I'll experiment with that a little bit and see maybe what I can get away with. Maybe a set of like super light duty chains on the front, or maybe a set of, I even hate to say it, like cable chains on the front. We'll see what I can do there. But anyway, just an update video. This is the new Taco here. Like I said, it's the TRD Offroad package, and it's double cab, and I went with the long bed. So, okay, let's talk about the long bed a little bit. I've always had a long bed on all of my pickups, and if the bed of the pickup isn't long enough for me to lay down in, like, that's a problem for me. A lot of people like the short bed too, like the 5-foot bed. I had to go with a 6-foot bed. That's just me. Every truck I've ever had has had at least a 6-foot bed. So, yeah. On that note, let's dive in a little bit more on the other pickups I've had. So this is my 4th truck now. This is my first new truck, brand new vehicle. No, I won't say brand new vehicles because I did have a brand new motorcycle once, but this is my first brand new truck. My first truck was an 85 SR5 Toyota pickup, and it had the 22R motor in it. You know, it didn't have a lot of power, and it had oversized oversized tires on it, and that kind of slowed it down even more. But it was a good pickup for the time that I had it and when I needed it, and it was fine. After that, I had a 96 F-150, and that was a good truck too, until it started going through clutches. And literally after, it was the third or fourth clutch in that thing, because the aftermarket slave cylinders and throwout bearings were junk. I finally got rid of that pickup. And then I got my 98 Tacoma from my brother. So my brother had it for 13 years, and then I had it for 13 years. And it's still a good pickup. It had 207,000 miles on it when I sold it, and it's probably it's got a lot more miles left in it. But I couldn't justify having two pickups, so I sold that one, let it go, and I have the new 2024 here. So I've kind of always maintained, I've never had a truck with a V8 engine either. I mean, the 22R motor in the 85, that had an inline 4 in it. My F-150 had the inline 6, the 300 engine. That was a really good engine. I really liked that engine. I really liked that truck. I just, like I said, didn't like replacing clutches in the thing. And then the 98 Tacoma, it had the 3.4 liter V6, and now I'm back to an inline 4 on this one. But you know, it's got the turbocharger on there, and yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of wallop. You have to kind of put your foot down to get after it, to get the acceleration. But so far, I think it'll do fine. You know, the little bit of four-wheeling I've done with it so far, I haven't had an issue. It's just, it's getting used to having a wider vehicle with a longer hood again. It's more like driving my old F-150 than it was any of my other Toyota pickups in that regard. So, you know, you raise the seat up as high as you can so you can kind of see over things and everything. But it's still, yeah, it's adapting, going back to having a wider vehicle now in the woods and stuff. And maybe a note again on the double cab and long bed on the thing. You know, I've got a longer wheelbase on this guy right now, so I'm giving up some capability, off-road capability there, just with that, especially without a lift yet and without maybe running 33s. So stuff I could probably get away with in my my 98. I might not be able to get away with quite as nicely here in this, just due to the wheelbase and due to the width of the vehicle. So anyway, there's a lot of rambling thoughts out here right now as the sun goes down here in southwest Montana. So we'll see you again in the next Tacoma video.